30 days, 48 nations will descend on North America for the biggest and most chaotic World Cup in history. Now let's start with a fairly obvious one, I think. A team who went through qualifying unbeaten, the current holders of the European Championships, and at the heart of it all, a teenager who seems to have skipped the rookie phase of his career entirely and is now a certified world beater. It's Spain. Now, understandably, you could say that the Euros was 2 years ago and football has changed a lot since then. However, the continuation of the Spanish squad has been pretty impressive in terms of personnel. Nacho has retired, but no problem. Get a young Pau Cubarsí in there, or Dean House. Lost a few other experienced heads with Jesus Navas and Jose. Well, how about 2 more years worth of experience for the likes of Pedri, Lamine Yamal, Nico Williams? And what about keeping the actual spine of the team solid? Well, Rodri is still in his prime. Martin Zubimendi looks to have hit new heights since joining Arsenal, and having to choose between Unai Simon and David Raya for the number 1 jersey is a good headache to have. Spain are currently number 2 in the FIFA World rankings, and under Luis de la Fuente, they have all the tools to pull off this modern tiki-taka style, a system that keeps the soul of its predecessor with the aim of possession, but adds the lightning speed of Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams on the wing to change a game within seconds. With Rodri controlling the tempo from the base of the midfield and Pedri threading needles in the final third, it feels like a winning strategy for knockout football. However, Spain's biggest enemy may be their own lack of tactical flexibility in the final third. They have the quality to beat most teams for sure, but in a World Cup with so many styles, some sides could throw up a bit of a tactical surprise, and who knows, maybe the dribbling and movement of Yamal, Williams or Oyarzabal isn't working. So with Morata completely out of form this season and no other top-level centre forward, how do they approach these problems from a different angle? It's a complete hypothetical, of course, at the minute, but I'm sure we've all watched enough football to recall any number of games where a well-organised underdog has survived the passing carousel, defended for their lives where need be, and snatched a 1-0 win on the counter against a blunt opponent void of attacking ideas. Still, I guess if you can't touch the ball, you can't score. And with Spain being the most technically complete team in the world right now, if Yamal finds his rhythm and Rodri stays fit, they are the team most likely to control their own destiny all the way to the final. And if they do, I'm like 99% sure they'll have to come across the next favourite at some point. And that is who we have next up, the strength in numbers choice. So called because looking at the long list of talented names who won't even be in the squad, you'll just see how ridiculously good the pool of talent is for France. Most countries pray for one golden generation every 50, 60, 70 years. This was like their 3rd one in a row. Didier Deschamps is the epitome of been there, done that on the international stage, and now he's looking to take France to a 3rd straight World Cup final. The entire squad reads like a FIFA Ultimate Team from someone who has way too many coins. Kylian Mbappe, injury dependent, sure, but at the peak of his powers, flanked by the creativity, dribbling and sheer output of Ballon d'Or winning Ousmane Dembele and the outstanding Michael. There's a midfield stacked with options like Tchouaméni, Emery, Kante, and a bit more flair with Ryan Church, and a defensive spine anchored by the brilliant centre-backs like Saliba, Konate, Upamecano. They're the masters of tournament football, comfortable without the ball, lethal wit, and physically more imposing than anyone else in the draw. But for all their talent, there always seems to be this accusation hurled at the French of diva culture, or always being near a full squad implosion. I personally don't see it with this squad, but given how many times it's happened over the past few decades, it always feels like there's a chance, especially when Deschamps is having to field questions over Mbappe's attitude, work rate, and tactical flexibility, which isn't ideal after he's just named the Real Madrid forward as captain. If I were pressed to pick a weak spot in the team, I'd say the fullbacks aren't quite at the same level as the rest, but when you've got that much attacking talent, how much defending are you really going to be doing anyways? A part of me thinks Hugo Ekitike will actually be a big miss for the squad on the whole as well, but with so much individual brilliance, you've got to back them to come up with a solution to whichever question is posed throughout the tournament. Well, all except the one question that most defenders have failed to answer for the past 20 years.
Let's give it to him and pray.
And that is how to stop Lionel Messi. Admit it, we all thought 2022 was the end of the story, right? Lift the famous trophy in Qatar and complete football. But clearly, he isn't done yet, and he's bringing yet another band of Argentinian bodyguards with him for one last run. Whatever you actually think of Messi's current level, which isn't as high as it was, Argentina are the defending champion, the Copa America holder, and pretty impossible not to have them down as a favourite, for largely the same reasons as last. Messi, now 38 and turning 39 during the knockout rounds, will continue in his playmaker role that doesn't put a huge physical burden on him, because he has the midfield of Enzo Fernandez, Alexis McAllister, amongst others, willing to do the running for him. But don't go drawing comparisons here to what I just mentioned about Mbappe's lack of running. These situations and players could not be more different. But aside from that, I do think there is space for other players to shine as well in this. It's not just all do the dirty work and give the ball to Messi. Atletico duo Giuliano Simeone and Julian Alvarez are having great seasons. Nico Paz's club future will no doubt provide the backdrop to any discussion on him this summer after a brilliant year at Cup. And say what you like about Emi Martinez's club, he is the man for the big occasions between the sticks. The question is, will this also be their run? The focus and the reliance on Messi in key moments when the others can't provide. Can a 39-year-old body survive 7 or 8 games, 30 days against the world's elite? And what if the team Scaloni is built to be mentally unbreakable can't get over their first tournament in the post-Angel Di Maria? After all, he was the guy who scored in nearly every major final. I mean, without his big game energy, the pressure on Messi to produce a moment of genius is arguably even higher. Although due to having already won the World Cup, the pressure looms even greater on the other half of the GOAT debate. But before we get to that, though, a quick one from me to tell you all about our latest offer here at 442, where right now we've got 50% off all our magazine subscription plans. Whether you're signing up for a short-term 6-month deal or plans to go for longer, if you click the link in the description now, you'll get the latest 442 magazine dropped straight to your door every month. And if that wasn't enough, by signing up now, you'll get our current issue, the first World Cup, completely free. It comes with a World Cup wall chart and supplement. So the link's in the description if you want to get on it, but let's get back to the Ronaldo. Right then, as always, talking about Lionel Messi inevitably leads to talking about Cristiano Ronaldo. But to be honest, I don't think they play the same role in their respective teams' DNA, and Portugal's chances at the World Cup don't rest entirely on his shoulders, because the team is so outrageously good in its own right. In defence, Nuno Mendes is one of the best examples of a modern football, whilst Gonçalo Inácio and Antonio Silva are more than capable of playing alongside each other if Ruben Dias isn't fit. In the attacking third, the likes of Francisco Conceição, Rafa Leão, Pedro Neto, Bernardo Silva, João Felix all provide different solutions for every tactical. And then we come on to the midfield, which in every way imaginable is the best midfield of the world. Vitinha and João Neves provide an excellent engine room, and the creative genius of Bruno Fernandes makes him the main man in this team. I can see Roberto Martinez making quite a few big decisions in the World Cup. There is, though, the biggest question of them all for him to fix, and that, which role does Cristiano Ronaldo? At 41, he is still the captain and still the focus of every. But the tension in Portuguese football rises when he plays, because the team become more rigid and cross-heavy, basically trying to directly utilise his ability to put the ball in the back of the net. Now, it's not a bad plan, considering he's almost at 1,000 career goals. However, when he doesn't, they look like a fluid, modern machine. Martinez has to manage the biggest ego in sports history whilst trying to satisfy a fact that knows this squad is too good to be held back by nostalgia. If they start Ronaldo and go out early, the fallout will be historic. On the flip side, though, if Portugal find the right balance of bottling up Ronaldo's clutch goal-scoring ability and unleashing it at the right, counteracted by the team delivering for the majority of matches without the pressure of constantly playing into CR7s, they could be the most dangerous team in the tournament. I actually put Portugal in the same category as, in that they have the depth to handle the intense schedule and the individual quality to win, even when they aren't at their best.
Still of running, and his gags, it's
we have to discuss the dark horse that is Now, even calling a historic football nation such as Germany a dark horse sounds so wrong in my... Never mind coming out of my... But their last 4 tournaments have been pretty They didn't even get out the group stage of the past 2 World Cups, and only marginally better than the Euros, with a round of 16 and quarter-final exit in the last 2 editions. So you can see where I'm coming from in terms of recent... Never ever count the Germans out, especially when Die Mannschaft possess 2 of the finest young players that will be at the World. I didn't coin this term, by the way, but the team is built entirely around Verziala. That's right, the partnership of Florian Wirtz and Jamal Mus. These two are capable of absolutely anything on their day, turning a boring midfield battle into a goal-scoring chance in 2 touches, dancing through the opposition whilst approaching the edge of and causing absolute chaos. They're supported by the experienced leadership in the form of Joshua Kimmich and revitalised Antonio. There's prime entering talent with the likes of Havertz, Schlotterbeck, Stillert. And to top it all off, the young guns have got an equally exciting, even younger brother. So, in Leonard, at just 18 years old, the Bayern sensation has taken to the top level like a duck to water, and he provides sort of unknown quantity at international level that could make him a real game. The issue for Nagelsmann's side comes in a similar shape to that of Spain's issues I mentioned earlier, where a complete lack of a plan B or top-level striker could come back to. The most recent squad in March saw the 2 striking options as Dennis Undav and Nick Volt. The former having a very good season with Stuttgart, and Voltemade actually doing okay in my opinion, considering he's in a new league with a big price tag. They have a combined total of just 8 goals in 17 international appearances. And that's the extent of their attacking option. I mean, we've been talking about Ronaldo, Mbappe, Messi, Kane will come on. I'm not sure there's going to be enough goal-scoring input to see them go deep into the tournament. The problem with German style of play currently is that they have enough against weaker opposition, like we saw in World Cup qual, but against the teams that can really hurt them at the back, it's going to be a different ball. They lost both Nations League games last summer to Portugal, and who are exactly the type of opposition they'll run into come the latter stages. It's tournament football, so anything can happen, sure, but putting all of this together, I think they have to remain as dark horses on this one.
Got goals with him. Put it on.
Fine, and we come to the unknown. On paper, with the big names, extraordinary price tags, and level of it, you'd think that Tuchel's three lions would be in with a shout, but football ain't played on. For 60 years, England have been the nearly men. So what's different this time? Well, I can only look at the manager, because if you can't beat the Germans, or get them to join you. The Thomas Tuchel era has fundamentally changed the vibe around St George. Gone is the Southgate level of pragmatic cautiousness, and in is the ruthless cup specialist edge that Tuchel brings. I don't think you can take too much from the qualifiers given the level of opposition. With a 100% win record and without having conceded a goal, there's reason to be optimistic. Further reason also lies in England having the hottest striker in world football at the minute, in Harry Kane. Not only is England's record goal scorer scoring more goals than previously thought possible, whilst probably due to the fact he's playing alongside betters, but he's also picking up the trophies to match. Having him spearhead England's attack is a surefire way to give them the best opportunity of finding the back of it. And the supporting cast in attack isn't bad either. Jude Bellingham has proved his clutch ability in the Euros. Bukayo Saka remains one of the best wingers in the world despite a poor season in Italy. Marcus Rashford still has moments of magic left in him. And here's where my England assessment takes a turn. I think the further you go back towards their own goal, the level... Declan Rice is exempt from this. He's pretty much always a guaranteed 7 out of 10 in it. However, if an almost 36-year-old Jordan Henderson is the best backup England, there are bigger issues. No shade on his wonderful career, great player. I just think at this stage there needs to be better cover for Rice and Anderson. As for the defence, this is where the squad really could come unstuck. If I look at the list of recent names, White, Tomori, Stones, Maguire, Spence, Hall, Livramento, Konza, Gay, Byrne, O'Reilly, I don't think any of them combine brilliant form, tournament experience, and top-level quality. Some have one or two of greats, but not. Maybe it's me being a bit too nostalgic here, but when we had the likes of Terry, Ferdinand, Ashley, you turn up to a tournament with some of the most elite defenders of the day, whereas nowadays the best defenders belong to other nations. Moreover, the English media pressure is at an all-time high too, because, well, when isn't it? And Tuchel is the first foreign manager in years, so if they don't dominate the group, there'll be a fairly short leash on him. But I guess if people didn't like it, they should be getting behind Tuchel, because this is the complete opposite. He's a manager who knows how to win knockout football matches and has the arrogance to match the squad. All in all, I don't think England should be considered as favourites in the upper echelons of international football, but hey, there's always hope.